I feel thinking how we can coexist with coronavirus and how we build tolerance against coronavirus is way more important and constructive to lead this harsh pandemic to the end. I know it is really important to deal with this pandemic as much as possible to reduce the number of victims, but I want you to remember that we have to recognize there's something we can do and there's something we cannot do. In the first place, I think unpredictable natural disasters, including pandemic, cannot be avoidable, no matter how excellent government team takes every single measures for disasters in advance. Looking back into history, there have been lots of natural disasters that people hadn't overcome, although they had already predicted it. Overcoming and avoiding natural disasters is required to make extremely flexible response against it, because even if you can predict coronavirus will spread around the world in advance, you don't predict accurately the speed of coronavirus spreading and coronavirus pathway of entry. Unexpected natural disasters have quite a few uncertainties that we can't predict unless we experience it. Moreover, a natural disaster changes configuration and tendency as rapidly and frequently as it were the easiest thing in the world. So natural disasters are not really as simple as the human beings can apply the lessons learned from the past, no matter how long period of time we spend from now on. After all, we always forced to make post-intervention response against it, even when a disaster occurs. And many times there are a lot of people who criticize poor government measures against COVID-19. If you criticize the government very hard, I think you should understand how cramped situation you were boxed in to proceed with the measure that you want to give a priority to if you were in the position of showing your political leadership. Complex relationship with stakeholders and big concession are complexly intertwined to support politicians of dominant political parties with solidly organized support. In the democratic society, getting a consensus with such stakeholders with solid organized support tends to be taken first priority prior to deciding one political measure, even though the situation is really harsh and really urgent. You should understand solving any big problems under administration of democratic political system has amazingly many unnecessary processes in decision making. So if your right argument had been reflected on every single political measure, I think the situation might have become not as serious as we are in now. Requiring the government to do the right thing in the right way is really wasteful thing for me. As I told you, people can't move as flexibly as you expect from outside to deal with an unexpected situation. In my conclusion, natural disaster should be accepted as an unavoidable difficulty or a trial given by the God to some extent. So I'm prepared.